Right, so today let's have a look at why do we fear mistakes. We need to understand that where fear comes from and why do we fear making any mistakes. So first, let's have a look at the POV, the point of view of where you are getting this fear from. And there's two places. There's one, your POV of fear and POV of fearlessness. Understanding that fear derives from our ego mind, right? That's the first place. And the fearless comes from our true self, the soul, the software, which is fearless. So first of all, let's explore the fear coming from the ego mind. The fear coming from the ego mind is AKA your hardware, it's your brain, right? It only exists in the mind. It only exists from this hardware. But when you identify with your ego self, when you identify saying, I'm labeling myself as the ego, it's how you see yourself in the world. It's how you see yourself in the world. It's your personality, it's your thoughts, it's your feelings, it's your behavior. This is how you act in the world when you identify with your ego self, the mind. The ego self, number one thing is safety first. It doesn't care about anything else apart from being safe. So it's always gonna fear doing anything out of the ordinary, right? So that's the point of view of the ego self. When we identify with the ego mind and this body, that's the body, that's the POV that you're operating in, and that's why we operate in a level of fear. But the other point of view is fearlessness. And fearlessness exists from operating from your true self, which is your soul self. From there, the point of view is mistakes, if you label them as mistakes, are seen as actual lessons from the point of view of the soul, the true soul self, the software. So they're perceived as more lessons for growth, inner self-understanding, and learning about self when you operate from the POV of fearlessness from the true self. So the soul self is always seeking expansion, growth, and self-development. So depending on where our POV is in this body, this mind, then you'll be operating from fear or fearlessness. So now let's take this analogy of the POV. Now let's say this pool table is the game of life, right? And it's true self versus ego self. Your true self is taking shots and your ego self is not taking shots because the ego self is seeking safety first. So it's limited and it's stuck because it fears failure. It fears failure because it's linked to fear of judgment and criticism from others and itself, right? So it's a contracted of self. It's a shrinking of your true self because you're stuck here in this POV of fear of failure, and then your fear of taking a shot on the pool table. So the ego self is not playing. But when you have a look at the true self is always taking shots. It's always, if you look at the yellow balls, they're the lessons, and when you put the yellow balls into the pockets, they're your growth. So you're getting growth. Every time you take a shot, that's a lesson, it's an opportunity, it's growth. And then you make the shot and you pop the shot, that's a growth. So your true self is always expanding and always seeking growth and expansion, and that's your true self. So understand that fear only exists in this mind. Fear only exists when you identify with the mind and body. Your software, your soul, is always ready to take the shots, always ready to make the move. So we must remind ourselves not to get stuck in the POV of the mind and body and to elevate out and up into expansion of self. So I hope this one helps. Stop fearing mistakes, start taking shots, start trusting yourself, start believing in yourself. Cut the negativity, the fear, the judgment, the criticism of self and fear from others. And I hope this one helps. And I'll catch you in the next one. Sending you much love and light, my beautiful souls. Goodbye.